Hello, I'm Anya Stanley. I write for Fangoria. My work can be found at Dread Central, and I am a film critic and horror lover. Thank you for joining us at this Dread Central panel of beautiful, talented, amazing ladies. This will be a way for us to celebrate diversity in cinema and its benefits and its challenges and how it shapes the stories that we tell. I'm going to introduce all of our guests one by one here, and then we'll get started. Uh, let's start with Miss Rae Dawn Chong.
Hi.
Her acting credits go back to 1974, from what I can find. I hope I have that right, too. She's planted her flag in such favorites as Beat Street, Commando, The Color Purple. Horror fans are rabidly celebrating her role in Tales from the Dark Side in the Lover's Vow segment. She also had her directorial debut in 2000 with Cursed Part 3. I'd like to welcome Miss Rae Dawn Chong to the panel.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Hello, everyone.
And next, if you are tuning into a Dread Central panel, you are a horror fan and you already know all about Miss Rachel True. In the horror realm, she is known for The Craft and a handful of Sharknado movies. And all of my 90s kids, we've all watched Half Baked. I'm a stoner mom, so I know my Half Baked. CB4, Fresh Prince, Family Matters, and the early aughts series Half and Half is very special to me as well. Miss Rachel True, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Miss Selena Anduze has been killing it lately as Agent Rodriguez on WandaVision. She is no stranger to horror. She has worked on Dr. Sleep, Swamp Thing, The Haunting of Hill House. Miss Anduze, welcome.
Thank you.
And it is a pleasure to talk to you today. And lastly, we have Miss Maria Sten. She is a Congolese, Danish, and Swedish writer, actress, and filmmaker, Blacklist Fellow, and she has recent work on Swamp Thing and Channel Zero. Miss Sten, welcome.
For having me.
So we've already been chatting for a little bit behind the scenes before this all started, got a lot of wisdom and heard a lot of great stories. And so I'm not even sure we need this icebreaker, but I'm going to go ahead and drop it anyway. I'm going to ask everybody here, what's the last horror movie that you all watched?
Midsommar.
Midsommar. How did you like it?
I loved it. I loved it until I feel like if it had just gone like that, I would have been happier because I was a little bit ahead of it, but I loved the setting. I loved the cinematography. I absolutely loved the story of that relationship. Mm-hmm. I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but I'm assuming everyone's seen it. No, I mean, I thought the directing was really fantastic. Yeah.
Good movie. One of my favorites of the past few years. I'm loving the healthy debate about whether it actually counts as a feminist movie or not. There's been a lot of that, and I've engaged with and blocked a lot of people on the subject. It's people get very rabid about it.
Yeah, as people do with these things.
With these things, exactly. Has anybody else watched any horror movies recently?
Does Lovecraft Country count? Does Lovecraft Country count as horror?
Totally counts.
That was the last thing I think I would officially say.
And you're not very big into horror. Do I have that right?
I just am afraid of it. It's hard for me to watch. I'm not like I actually can't watch it, but
Same.
Yeah, I can't even watch like Breaking Bad. I'm a wimp, but I have seen Get Out and I did see Tales from the Dark Side. I mean, I just get too tense, but I'm a fan of making it. I think it's fun, but I'm not an aficionado. I'm not an expert like you guys. So. But
I do have a question on that later on too.
I thought that Lovecraft was really good. Lovecraft Country.
It's another one of those shows that's getting a lot of healthy, robust discourse with a capital D on social media. Mm-hmm. Miss True, Miss Anduze, have any of you guys watched any horror lately?
I just watched I Care a Lot. That felt like horror to me. Even though it's not, but anyone who takes advantage of the elderly that ruthlessly is just like,
that's a horror.
Oh, that hurt my heart.
Yeah.
I loved it as a satire. I really
Right?
did. Yeah,
Yeah.
very much.
I was, on the fence, and then I was like, I didn't know how to feel about it, but I knew I could not look away. So,
I think that's why I call it satire, when I'm like, I don't know if I should like this.
right?
Yeah. 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 I saw Antebellum recently.
Oh,
Ooh,
and
good.
what are your thoughts on that one?
I have a lot of thoughts, so I don't want to take up the hour, but I think what I feel like, listen, it was obviously inspired by the Octavia Butler Kindred a little bit, and I could see that those roots in it. I think, listen, interesting idea. I am an I've written a book and I'm an actor. I'm aspiring screenwriter as well. So there's certain things, without disrespecting anyone involved, because I know how much it takes to make a movie, right? All around, writing it, the lights, the grips, everything. I think I was a little too much torture porn in the beginning for me. That's kind of my truth. And I love horror. I could watch Saw and all that stuff, but here I thought it was ineffective for me, and it kind of lost me. How about that?
Yeah, that's
I wouldn't
diplomatic.
watch
Okay.
it. I wouldn't watch it because it was too much.
Oh, I really want to watch it. It was Selena, Pedro, our Swamp Thing DP did. It looks so beautiful.
Oh, I didn't know
It's
that.
shot great. The acting is
Mm.
great. And there's so much good in it that there's a little bit of zhuzhing I would have done differently, but it's not my project. And that's why I'm not trying to hedge my bets. I'm just trying to be respectful of how much it takes to get a movie done and made and all of that. But I wish they'd structured the exact same story differently. That's my feeling.
Mm. I like it. I like it. Okay. My first proper question on framing the event is the title is Celebrating Diversity in Horror. And I'm wondering, as there's a lot of screen credits between the four of you, and I'm wondering if, as professionals, active professionals in the industry, do you see diversity? And do you think that that's the best word for the landscape that you want to see? This is for anybody.
I want inclusion, I would say. Also, I just want to throw this out there because I heard a rumor that is February supposed to be Women in Horror Month? Because I feel like February's taken already.
There was, oh yeah, on Twitter, there's been quite a bit of pushback about that.
I'm just gonna throw that out there, like, it's taken.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Women in Horror. I'm from New York. I would love to do more horror. And I love talking about horror and horror noir, right? But I think, like anything, I was explaining to someone in the publishing industry, they were saying, why aren't there any books on this subject by diverse people? And I said, well, the gatekeepers are very homogenous. That's the truth. So if you're saying, do we want diversity? Yeah, of course. It's like an obvious question. We all want to be included in everything, but what we need it needs to be from the top down, kind of, I think, a little bit like what Ava DuVernay has done with her thing, hiring diverse women to direct each episode and, being inclusive, because you understand that is what it should be, not I got to do this quota bullshit, which is what I came up with in the early parts of my career. I mean, if I had one more person say, you should just be lucky to be here, and I'm like, really? Because you should be lucky to have me here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think diversity is a misleading word. I think it's because what does it mean? Because diversity is all people, right? Diversity is all of the colors. I think it's about representation. Inclusion is great, but I think, underrepresented communities, underrepresented ethnicities are what we need to engage and foster and see more of. And I think particularly in the horror genre, it's really interesting. I think television has come further than features have, but when you look at the numbers, it's still pretty jarring. I think when I was doing Channel Zero, I found out that was the first time that we had two Black leads on a horror TV show, and that was in 2018. So it's there's still ways to go, but it's a top down thing.
I
So I
mean,
just want to jump in and say, if you're having trouble finding ethnic diverse final girls,
Yeah, right. But we all know. I mean, that's not it. I think there's a bigger conversation in regards to movies in Hollywood in general, and how they say that Black movies don't travel. And I think, especially with horror films, the way that they're sort of put together and made, or how they have been at least for a long time, is foreign pre-sales, right? So you sell them to a foreign market, and when they're done, you guys probably you've done way more horror movies than I have, so you probably know this better.
okay, but that's a lie. That's a big
Yeah.
fat.
Exactly, but that has always been the excuse, right?
It's
and
a
so now
lie.
it's
All
about,
those
like,
guys say
breaking
that.
that
All
down.
of the buyers say it. It's a racist lie.
Mhm.
It's a racist lie. Get Out proved that this is wrong. Black
Absolutely.
material, if it's really good, will sell all over the world. Look at rap music. It's just been a
But why-
lie.
Yeah, but I mean,
And it
that-
just
that-
makes them
that's
feel
the whole point.
good.
Any material, if it's really good, will sell, right? It's not
Well,
just like that.
I
That's
feel
the
like
whole.
we're seeing. I feel like we're
Sell if
seeing
it's
that
really
right
good.
now, though. With look at Netflix with Lupin and Bridgerton. They're two biggest grossing. They're not in horror, but
Yeah.
they're diverse inclusion, all of it. Especially Lupin. It's a French show with a very dark skinned lead, and they thought that it wouldn't even sell, and it was to date the biggest Netflix viewed show ever, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I mean, look at
so-
Black Panther.
I'm so
Exactly.
happy to hear this, that it's over. I think the lie has been out. It's outed. No more is that true. It's just been executives like the Harveys and like you talked about it, Rachel. The top guys are all frat boys making frat boy decisions. And the leadership in town has to become not only sexually diverse, racially diverse, and I mean the green lighters, the people who are at the tippy top. And corporate, the other thing is corporate has to expand. And I think they're making laws in Congress to diversify boards. So you guys, unlike a wonderful country like Iceland, where it's illegal to have, you have to have every single corporate board has women equally represented and diverse people, even though Iceland is not really that diverse because it's Iceland, but they have sexual diversity unlike any other country, and they're super successful with it. So America is behind.
Can I jump in and say too that I think though that we're a lot of, especially the younger generations, when I talk to them, they kind of forget that a lot of the gatekeepers are, and I'm not trying to say it's a generational problem, it's not, but that baby boomer manifest destiny. And I'm not talking about Rae, I'm talking about the ones who came before her, because your dad would have been a boomer. But that manifest destiny, that is finally, now we're starting to see the cracks of that go away. This is essentially, if anyone watched Mad Men, these people were raised in that misogynistic, this is the way it is, da-da-da-da-da, racist. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that we're dismantling it. Yeah, but she's right. I mean, it's also very, very racist. Like, ultimately, when I did my deal, for the craft, and they were talking to human resources, which is the people who do your deals, they literally gave me, shit, whatever. And I was like, I want more. And they were like, take it or leave it. We have another Black girl. That's literally what they told my agents. So I don't think white girls are put in that same position, although they are. We have another blonde. Well, they're not, but they are, Rae. I'm saying we have another blonde. Take the deal or leave it. So there are similarities, but when I am on a set, but when I'm on a set and I am told I'm a credit to my race, I'm old enough for that shit. It's odd, and it affects you, and it's disconcerting. Like when I did not the TCAs, but the upfronts, I can't tell you how many local affiliates said, "You're so well spoken." And these are old colloquialisms, because that doesn't mean much to a young generation, but to an older person, what they're saying is, "You as a well-spoken Negro, I am impressed." Yeah. And so those things are finally dying out a little bit. We've seen the changes coming, and all these young filmmakers now, who are breaking the mold, whether they're women or men, but hiring the casts that they see around them. It's not so homogenous. So I have a lot of excitement and faith for where things are going, by the way. And I think I try to stay there instead of in the, I can't fucking believe the shit I put up with, because that would make me bitter,
Agreed. I think there's also a demystifying the idea of like, got to get the one seat at the table. I always have this motto that's, instead of it being the one seat at the table, you build a bigger table and add more seats. And that's sort of, I feel like that's what we're seeing now. And that is, we are sort of like breaking down that stereotype of, we gotta just like, you gotta compete for this one seat, because it's not.
Well, I hope so, because the Highlander mentality was, I love my women friends. You know what I'm saying? My girls are my support. So to have the Highlander mentality imposed on us back in the day, which by the way, didn't really affect me, because I went, I'm weird, I'm me, I'm over here anyway. So I didn't actually buy into that, but it's left a scar in the psyche of women to be pitted against. In fact, I shot a movie in Zimbabwe, and the Zimbabwean producer was a woman, and she said, oh, I work at an office too, and if there was another Black woman, I wouldn't like it. And I was like, okay, there where we were in the 60s and 70s, because of the different ways, the country has unfolded there. But that's how we think of each other, as enemies, and it's so painful.
It's I'm glad to see it going away. I mean, I have a friend who looks exactly like me, and we had the same auditions often. It's like, oh, did you get that one too? Me too. Let's read together, and then like whoever gets it buys lunch. That's sort of how we roll.
That's terrific.
Yeah,
no, that's really good, because it's nice to hear. I mean, I have friends who are exactly, Cree Summers, exactly my type. We're great friends. So I love to hear that about the younger gen. And I also love that you actually have the opportunities. Like, I had to fight to get into red for things that weren't necessarily just Black. That's how I landed a bunch of roles. I was like, get me the fuck in on that. I don't give a shit. Somehow I got in there. But now I see that you don't even have to do that fight. There are roles for you. A lot of roles for you, and that's exciting for someone like me to see.
And there are changes that are slowly but surely happening. I think that like you said, Miss Chong, you had talked about Get Out and the success of it. I think that the success of Get Out, and then Jordan Peele subsequently making Monkey Paw Productions, and then giving the reins to a huge property, Candyman, over to a Black woman, to Nia DaCosta. It's a big deal, and it's a bigger deal than people were originally making it out to be. And even within that, when that movie was being promoted, and as it's being promoted, a lot of outlets are still saying Jordan Peele's Candyman. Even though he is a producer, he is not the director, and her name has been left out, and people were calling out outlets for this very thing. So in some ways things are changing, and in some ways things haven't changed much since the craft, since your name was excluded from certain things.
Listen, here's the deal with that too. I don't expect anybody to know my name, but I do expect a reporter to do their goddamn research. If you're gonna have a picture of the four of us and you're gonna skip over me and go to someone eighth on the call sheet over and over and over and over again, then I'm gonna go, oh, this reminds me of when I was a kid and I would see a Black actor and they wouldn't have a name, and it was just that Black person. And so you as me as a Black person back then as a little kid thought, oh, I must not be important enough to be, whatever, we're Black. It's not important enough. So I'm saying in the time period. So to have it happen to me or be excluded, like, again, from the conventions, I put my foot down about that, and everyone has their opinion about it, but it's a goddamn money train. And once again, they were leaving Black people out of the money train. And I wasn't having it, and spoke up about it because I like money. But also I like meeting my fans. And I felt like a lot of fans were saying, why aren't you here, Rachel? And I would say, well, I asked them if I could come, but they said no. And then finally, I had it down with the girls because nobody but Fairuza understood, to be totally honest. Nev was like, you're going to ruin your chances at other conventions. And it's like, I'm not being invited anyway. Robin's team gave me a statement they wanted me to say. And I said, I'm a goddamn grown Black woman. Say this shit yourself. Right. You got a platform. So my feeling was I was just going to stand up for myself, not really worry about anyone else. Thank Miss Bolt for letting me know what time it was, and carry on. And I will keep doing that.
And
That
did
is
it,
awesome.
did that change? When you spoke up about it, did they then invite you to conventions?
Well, they, I coerced them into that one where they made triple the amount of money that they would have. Everybody made triple. So they owe me a thank you for that. I think it did, but I also think when it comes to the conventions, it's a cash thing. And they're in areas where there's not a lot of diversity. And they think, why should we have that person? Nobody's going to go there. So it really takes someone to take a chance, right? One of those white convention people to go, wait, I think we're underserving this market. I may have, listen, I'm a Scorpio Capricorn. I forced them to see they were underserving the market. With that, I think it did help. I think hopefully it opened doors. The whole point was open doors for other people like you who are younger coming up, so that you don't know what it feels like. When we did the craft, I was excluded from the publicity. And then you wonder, and then they were all on the MTV Awards. I was excluded. I wasn't invited, even though I had a publicist too. So you wonder, where were the Black celebrities back then? We weren't building them the same way we built white people. And I don't want to sound like I'm complaining the whole time. It's just a Gen X person who's coming from my perspective. What I do see though now, with the advent of social media and all that, it was pretty easy for me to mouth off in a way I couldn't have back in the day. So I appreciate that. It's pretty easy for young Black actresses to have so much more visibility now without even, I mean, you're on TV, so you have visibility, but now you can speak and say the things you want publicly. So it is kind of forcing a big global community. I don't know though that it helped what I did. I don't know.
Well,
Sure it
building
did.
upon that, I'm wondering, with Miss Chong and Miss True, both still active in the industry. Miss Chong, I know you recently wrapped on The Sleeping Negro. Miss True, you have an exorcism movie that I heard about, Agnes,
Oh, yeah.
coming down the pike there, and so both of you have previously landed big roles for Commando and The Craft, which, from what I've read and seen, both roles were originally envisioned as white women, and you stepped into those roles. Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, can you speak to how it was when you were starting out versus how it is? And then I'm hoping that Miss Anduze and Miss Sten can talk about their experiences and maybe get a compare and contrast of how things are versus how things were.
Rachel, do you want to go first?
Oh, okay. All right. I don't, you know what? I don't know so much, to be honest. There are other people who could probably answer this better, because the way I see it is, things are absolutely changed and are different. I think we're still in the middle ground. How's that? We're still in the wild, wild west of change. I don't know where it's all going to settle. I'm a little worried it's going to go back to what it was, just by the nature of this business is built on your ego and power. And I hate to sound like an idiot, but sometimes I think ultimate power does corrupt. So I'm sort of waiting for someone to come down the pipeline who is in a position of power. And Ava is one of the people that I hold up who does that. But
yeah, Ava is a good one, because she obviously pays it forward. She hires a lot of women of color for directing, not just to star in her stuff. Unlike her friend Oprah, who is just like, really, but she's gotten better.
But you wouldn't have Ava if you didn't have Oprah, I will say.
That's right. And I want to give Rae, because I did this off camera before, but I want to give Rae some shout outs, because, people say to me, like, you're one of the first girls they saw with curly hair. And I'm like, no, Rae Dawn Chong was, and other people who came before her. But really, like, Rae isn't even that much older, but she was working so much before me that I really looked up to her, because here she was, this brown skinned girl, not even like high yellow, or the yellow I look on this. I'm not, I'm kind of red. This suits me lighter. I don't know why, I've tried to fix it. But here was this brown skinned girl, but who spoke like me, right? Because not all of us have an inner city urban upbringing. And people love to make assumptions. People always assume I was to the manor born. I'm not. I was in foster care from 0 to 4. We just all have different experiences. And I love that Rae was this quirky, weird girl in the best way. Beautiful, quirky, talented, so talented too. So I just want to give her props.
But I was just going to say something that Rachel's bringing something up that I think we're missing. Back in the day, it was only one could get through, just like
Right.
only one Denzel, only. And what is I have a few things that I could critique with the people of color who have made it through, like Spike, or, like I know or heard allegedly that Spike doesn't pay his people, but you get famous, I guess, if it's a Spike Lee movie because it's going to be good. Or for instance, there's always abuse, you know what I mean? Like if you look at Oprah's magazine, she's always been on the covers. It's like, talk about, like, okay, what are we supposed to do with that?
Ray, what was it like working
and
with
I would
Oprah?
say, well, I found her to be so irritating and such a brown noser that I absolutely despised her. And she would ask me questions and I would give it to her, but I didn't realize until Akuswa Busia shared the inside scoop about her and me. I had no chance with her. She was so offended with my credit because I got an above the title credit, but I had been working. And to be honest, no matter what, I get a lot of like, you're in The Color Purple. I am an extra in The Color Purple. Color Purple. It is not one of my favorite films that I've done. I could have missed the whole thing. I feel like it stopped my role, to be honest. And they cut the one scene that would have maybe given me a chance to make it worth my while. They cut it so we could have a musical interlude, so Quincy could have so it was just painful for me. And I could have changed that had I been a little bit more, shall I say, brown nosy myself, but I'm just not that way. I'm the daughter of, a counterculture icon, and we never sucked up to the man. We just said fuck you to the man. So it was just one of those things that, to be honest, and then she's an incredible, ambitious piece of work. And I just found, and then I had this extra experience with her and Arnold. And to be fair, I've always sort of dissed her, but Arnold also didn't make room for me on this particular instance. So it was just as much his thing. And I've never said a negative thing about Arnold. I have said a lot of negative things about Oprah, but I always feel because she's like a Leviathan that you can kind of pick on her because she's a billionaire. But back to because I want to be helpful and positive. I mean, I've had an incredible career and am having a resurgence at the moment. I couldn't be working more. And one of the things, because I'm a geezer, or 60, which is really old in Hollywood terms, but one of the things I've noticed is, for one thing, I'm so happy not to work that I am like nonstop working. And I tell my people, like, I turned a lot of stuff down, which I never would have done as a child, because to me, working, it was so hard to get in the room. Because in the 70s, it was Farrah Fawcett, and I was the antithesis to her. And when I started to work a lot, believe it or not, I was never paid properly. I was always told there was somebody waiting. And the movie that I turned down, Halle Berry took, and then she became Halle Berry. And to be honest, I never felt threatened by her. I was delighted she was there. But, I always laugh. I always not laugh, but I feel like it wasn't, the industry only made room for one beauty or one brown skinned person to be the flavor. And that I still think the industry does that still, where you're the it girl, you're the, and it really hurts me because there is a plethora of Black experience that, like, you got the dorky girls who are pretty. Thank you, me and Rachel. And then you've got the sisters who are less pretty, but maybe really smart and fabulous because they're strong Black women. Or you have the whatever, the voodoo ladies who speak Gullah. I mean, there's so much color to us. You've got the Dominicans and the.
But Ray, can I jump in, and just because you mentioned something really important about the pay disparity? I hope the younger generation is not putting up with that bullshit, because it incensed me that they paid. Again, in the craft, there's somebody with a small part who got paid three times as much as me. 3 times as much as me, and I was sorry. I'm so sorry you had to raise your hand for that, because one of the reasons I tried to fight for more pay was, hey, I like money, like I said, but also I know what I'm worth. I
Yeah.
know that I am worth just as much as pay as
Yes.
these other people. And even on my TV show, I fought for a raise because I said, y'all aren't giving us residuals. I know the white girls are making 2 to 3 times what I'm making here. So to bring this back to a point that a really great actor brought up on Twitter, and he was talking about, and I'm not trying to disrespect our very talented English actors who are coming over here because fucking trained, amazing. I love them. But this Wendell Pierce had a good point. He said, they can pay you less. That's a bit why. And I'm not talking about everyone. We have some super talented people coming over, but the deal is if you have a TV show and you want to do the movie next, but they don't want to pay you the rate that you deserve, they can just bring in someone English. They're used to getting paid like $1. I mean, not $1. But you know what I'm saying? Compared to American TV money, the money is much, much less. It's 4 episodes. It's not 22. It's this much compared to this much. So when I hear my white peers are getting 200,000 an episode for something that my black peers are getting 20,000, it hurts my heart. So I hope you guys, the younger guys, keep fighting for that.
Can I just say something though that makes this is how they do it. And I know because I have a lot of friends who are super powerful women and they're executives. So how they measure your worth is by like, for instance, you may only get, let's say, $5, but the actress that they want for the lead, the co-lead, she's got 17 offers on the table in which they're willing to give her exactly triple or quadruple what this company that you've got your offer, right? She's got choice. We unfortunately, this is the job. So they know that. But the second, like in Hallie's case, I know this because her lawyer used to be my lawyer, may still be her lawyer, but he said, listen, she had so many scripts stacked up wanting her when she cracked into the $1 million and more club that they had to pay her. And then she had won an Oscar. I mean, she started getting good cake when she had multiple choice. And so then producers will throw money at you if they want you and other producers want you. So our deal, my dear, is about to change because more opportunities are coming. So when you have lined up offers, you've got a couple of shows that want you and you've got some movie of the weeks, whatever we're doing now, you get more cake. That's how
but it's also not buying into the head trip because the director and the producer told me, Rachel, you were the first one cast 3 months before we even did the screen test.
But okay, so here's the thing. So then it comes back on us where our people, like I remember the producer, Steve Tisch of Soul Man said to me, I would have paid you 3 times more, but your agents were so fucking lazy that
I agree with that. I'm going to encourage young actors out there. Listen, you have agents and managers for a reason. You want to take their advice. But I remember my old agent said to me, who went to jail for stealing from his clients, Ambrosio Mortimer, he told his black clients, he had me, Sam Jackson, a bunch of other famous people, and he would undersell everyone. I know exactly what Angela Bassett got paid for What's Love Got to Do with It, and you would cry. You would cry.
It was
crocodile.
No,
tears, you knew it, but that was back then, and that's what they settled for. So yeah, I do think we have to be willing to walk away a little bit sometimes, because what you're talking about is saying, no, I'm not accepting that. I want this, and then being willing to walk away. Most of us are not willing to walk away because we love acting.
I was just gonna say that.
You newbies, let me tell you something. Another thing that I learned from Philip Seymour Hoffman, he's he was a schlub. He was a genius slub. But this is the thing about him that because I said to him, I go, how did this happen with you? Like, and he said, mainly the deal with me is that acting isn't my job. I run a theater. I'm a theater director. So every time came to me for a film.
Rae, I went to college with him. I'm going to say this too, though. He came from an upper middle class family, and he could run a theater. I have an essay about him.
Rachel, this is important. This is an important piece. He pointed something out, and same with Bill Gates. When you know and you come from prosperity, what you know, you're not gonna not pay your rent. You're gonna pay your fucking rent. You're gonna pay your bills.
And that's why I fought to get on the money train as well. I was like, wait, these women have been rewarded with TV show after TV show. I've had my TV shows too, but they seem to make a lot more money than me. Here's another thing.
My point. The thing is, it's not, I'm just trying to make it so these youngins will get this. It's a combination of smart representation and being willing to know your value and to say, you know, I'm good. And this, because I have this theory about it now, because I am so happy to never work that I'm working like crazy. And my dad, I just was with Tommy, my dad, just now, and I said, Dad, it's the funniest thing, because I could easily just be a dog mom. My fucking pit bull is taking all my energy, and that's all I want to do is wake up and be with my pit bull. And I get the phone call, and I get this, and then my dad said, and the money's awesome. And my dad said, you know, and this is what Philip Seymour Hoffman said to me. He said, I don't really need to do this. So
see, but a lot of people who are diverse do need to do things, and that becomes, I think, the land to explore.
Well, this is what I want to say to you guys: save your money, invest it well, and live below your means. So
she's right,
and so you can say, "I'm good."
She's right.
What do you, Selena and Maria, both of you had raised your hands earlier when talking about pay disparities and everything. You guys have both had experiences or witnessed experiences where
constantly. Yes,
pay was not what it should have been.
Literally deal with this. I fight for it constantly. I do know my worth. And then my team comes, I have a wonderful team, but they come back to me and they say, look, the reality is they will hire somebody else. Do you want to work or don't you? And more often than not, I'm like, shit, I really want to work. And I want to work with those people, you know, like, and the truth is some I've been so fortunate with the projects I've gotten to work on, I would have done them for free because I love that so much. But it's that fight and that struggle where it's like, every morning I got to wake up and I got to fight to prove my worth when I shouldn't have to do that. Clearly I'm booking, I'm doing well. I you know, have directors asking to work with me. Why aren't you guys paying me for that? You know? So it is a constant struggle. And then I have other actors who come and train with me and they're going through the same thing, other actors of color. It's the same thing when I was starting out on TV. I love that you guys have the curls and everything, because I was told no one will take me seriously if I wear my hair natural because of the way I speak, because I'm so well-spoken. And these are microaggressions, you know, and I really,
it beats you up. It hurts.
I was gonna get fried from going through this, where I'm like, okay, I'm being told constantly, well, you're only gonna book if your hair looks more like how you sound, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. I'm like, wait, what? Or now the new thing is that, well, they have a curly haired girl. Wait, they can't have more than one? You know, it blows my mind.
And I jump in and say, it's so weird to me that you, so much younger than me, have to go through this. So sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that, because I was hoping it was a little different. What I do think, though, and this is not trying to sidetrack a horror thing for this, though, but I think as we as ethnic women, Black women, Hispanic, whatever we are, Afro-Latino, if we can claim it, though, because I'm a little put off when I see people saying, I'm wearing a protective style. I'm like, what are you protecting? This? Because I love this. You know, I understand actors, by the way, wearing a protective style. That means you're wearing a wig or something over your hair so it doesn't get as damaged on set every day. They're blowing it out every day. But I'm saying for the average, you know, everyday person out there, what are you protecting yourself from, man? Because I could be a senator with this hair. I could play a senator's wife with this hair. Haven't yet, but I could. So sorry that you're going through that.
You know, I'm hoping. I'm still hopeful.
It's racism.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's these microaggressions that we've gotten so accustomed to. You know, it's quite often I step foot on set and I am the only person of color, at least in the acting realm. I was so excited. Maria, you remember that day when you and I got to work together? I was over the moon getting to work with this woman. She's amazing. I know, we saw each other and we had this like little, hey girl, I see you, you know? And only two at that moment. And it was such a beautiful thing.
And it's an interesting thing because at least what I have found on all of my jobs is that like you find your ally person who is like the other person of color, like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Okay, I'm not crazy. Okay, you're seeing what I'm seeing. But it's been interesting for me because I work both as a writer and an actor, and so getting it on both sides, like when you're in a writer's room and I hear all the time that the Black female is the only Black person in the room, the only woman in the room, and then deal negotiations. I think you guys said it well earlier when it is about choice. It is about having the power of no is really, really powerful. But the sad thing is like we do want to work, but I know just from my own experience that saying no, this is my hill to die on. I am worth more because I know the white guy across the room, you just offered him what you don't want to pay me, so no.
Right.
And when that has happened a few times, it has worked out in my favor where they're like, okay, yes, fine, we'll give you what you're asking, but it's that is me being okay with walking away from that job because I know what I'm worth, and I know the quality of my work.
It's a luxurious position for most actors to be in, to be able to turn something down is the 100%. Truth. Most actors are just trying to get their health insurance or that one job for that because they haven't worked all year.
Rachel, how old are you now?
Oh, because my age is already out there everywhere. I would still be my fake pretend age if I could be. I want you to know. And I know exactly which ex-boyfriend outed my goddamn age. But I'm 54, and I always played 10 years younger. And the second my age went up, though, let me say this, the second my age went up, crickets, everything stopped for me. Oh, so that guy owes me a fucking shit ton of money is the actual truth. I know he was just trying to get back at me. But the fact is, even the producer from The Craft said to me a year later when he found out my actual age, he was like, oh, I wouldn't have cast you if I'd known how old you were, but you were perfect for it. So don't tell anyone your goddamn age, young people, but I'm 54 and I look pretty good.
Well, I was just going to say, I took early retirement.
Oh, you did?
And it's juicy. And I have to tell you, for the first time in my life, I can say no and know that the lights won't go off or I'll
Well, that's what I said to someone recently with the book thing, because they said, here, go in on this thing. And I hadn't been acting. I wanted to I had a health thing that took me out of work, a very big health thing, got my health together. And then I've been working on books. And I said, no, the thing about the book is it gives me the luxury, to not have to do this small little co-star thing I've already done. I've already done a million of those in my life. But let me round this to horror for a second, because let's talk about the Black woman as final girl. And we're starting to see that more in the last decade. I've seen a bunch more movies with two young, cute girls. Maybe one's Black and one's white, but they're both final girls. Or even Antebellum, which maybe isn't on the top of my list, but had a Black final girl, And I just want to say that's a new trend to bring it back to horror that I hadn't seen much before. And obviously Peel has a lot to do with that. But what are your thoughts on that, Rae?
Oh, I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
I mean, aesthetically, you guys, when I watch a movie, my favorite is European because one, the actors look like people. And they're usually, they don't like, there was a beautiful French film about an African, it's like a ghetto project, but I forget what it was called. I think it was called District something. And it was last year and it was just so good. And it was really a movie about being seen as a person of color, but as a human being, basically. And when I see leads, beautiful, you guys, and I love the girl that was in Jessie Smollett's sister, and I loved her. I thought she was amazing, but I love the mixture. It's so aesthetic. To me, it's pleasing. It makes my brain feel used. If it's the same image with the same young person and the same, really, it just all of a sudden I shut down.
Representation, right? It is about seeing the world reflected back to you on screen. That is the world that you're seeing in the world. That I think is what we're all craving, and that is just not the reality.
And I love seeing Minari, and I loved seeing Parasite, and I loved I love seeing like the Asian, palette as well. I mean,
I feel like it's a responsibility. I don't know about you guys, but like, I feel like the power of the visual medium, just think about Hollywood in general, it makes people, it opens their hearts and minds, first of all, to accept something, or it closes you off. I can't tell you how many times one of my friends who's from Nigeria, he's like, yeah, everyone thinks that we have machine guns and we're child soldiers, and it's ridiculous, like, and he says, yeah, we've got Hollywood to blame for that. They keep making this stupid stereotype. So we have a responsibility to make sure that we're seeing the tapestry of the whole world, not just the same homogenous bullshit over and over and over. And we're doing it, but it's little by little.
Yeah,
it is really incredible. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, what I was just going to jump off on that is I think the problem is it is so ingrained in our brain. So even me as a Black female writer, I will put something on the page and, you'll have to like, denote an ethnicity or an age, and you'll just go with like, oh, because you can't have two Black people in this world. And then I have to like rewire this systemic racism that has been ingrained in me. I was like, what do you mean? Of course you can. You just flip the whole bucket on its head and you rewrite it. But it's so interesting because like when we're looking at tropes and character and even age, obviously, is a huge thing that is not still isn't addressed as much as it should.
It's weird that we don't actually have many more Black final, because we're lauded as these strong creatures, which we are.
Yeah.
No lie, we are, except that you put capes on us. We're superheroes. When we help the election, we do this, we do that. If anyone was going to survive, it would be us, right?
But limiting us, that is limiting the experience, right? Apropos of what we're talking about, like we are more than just one thing. That's why I actually started becoming a writer, because I was like, I only see it's the like cute, sassy friend, or it's the sex, like the whatever, sexy girl, exotic, right, who maybe is a stripper, or then it's like the best friend who's like not like isn't wearing a lot of makeup and is there to support the white lead. And
but they only don't put a lot of makeup on you because you'd be prettier than the white lead if they put a lot of makeup on you, and that's why they don't put any makeup on the friend.
Yeah. but the point is it's so limited, like when I think about the Black experience, also I'm Danish, Swedish, Congolese. I didn't grow up in America. So I don't have the African American experience, for example. So I do go out for a lot of like European roles, French roles, where I'm like, this is clearly written for a white person, but because I am half white and I grew up in Europe, like I can do this, but I'm like, I know they're gonna go white. But it's an interesting thing to be presented with a lot. But I do think we just need to diversify what it means to be a Black person,
But also all around, like I remember reading for a slave thing and them telling me I was too contemporary looking. And I was like there wouldn't have been motherfucking 20 chicks who looked exactly like me on a plantation.
They're called passengers.
Talk about period movies, you know what I mean?
That's
like
they were called
all the time. Like, okay, Black people didn't exist before the Civil War, apparently. It's this thing that when you're looking back into history, and I think that's what's exciting about Bridgerton, and that's what's exciting when I see British cinema, because it's sort of ingrained, of course, through colonization, but you do see Black faces in period movies. I think British film has another problem altogether, is that they don't really make Black films.
Well, they made Belle.
But you know what I will give? Let me give English or British Black people. So like when I first went over there, I thought, oh wow, look at them walking with a different confidence we have, a different something. And then I thought, I don't know if that's because slavery ended 100 years sooner there than here. I don't know. But you're bringing up a good point, which is to say you don't have that American thing layered on you, and you probably didn't grow up.
It's called Jim Crow and white supremacy, and it's still in full force.
in a
Yeah, but
different form.
it's not so much that, it's just that there's when we talk culturally, it's one thing to be African American, it's one thing to be Nigerian, it's one thing to be, you know, half black, half white, it's one thing to be from the islands, it's one thing
Yeah,
to be.
for sure. There's different. And
Exactly.
when you haven't lived under white supremacy and Jim Crow and oppression, you are Trinidadian or St. Croix. I mean, they didn't have
Hey, that's
colonialism.
my island.
Is
I'm
that
from
your
St.
island?
Croix.
Yeah,
I'm from
you
St.
guys
Croix,
didn't
yes.
have colonialism. So
Exactly.
and you're suing Europe, which I love.
But wait, because you said you were an island girl, I have a question for you. And again, I'm much older, but when I was in grade school in New York City, different island, these Jamaican girls would not talk to me, would not walk with me, would not anything. And they said, we were in New York City, right? And they said, I'm not black, I'm Jamaican. And I remember I was in third grade and I said, we all black now, Jamaica. But they had an elitism because I think they had, you know what I'm talking about, girl.
Oh yeah, the island culture has that elitism, elite. You know what I'm saying. But it's very different from like what Maria said with the African American it's a very different mindset. And when I came to the States as a kid from the West Indies, I had never experienced that kind of racism because I got it from all sides because nobody knew what I was. They're like, are you Hispanic? Are you black? What the hell are you? They had no idea what I was.
What are you?
I'm also the same as you are, actually, Maria.
But you know what I get? I've had so many black people say to me, well, you don't look black. And I'm like, maybe you need to fix your definition of what a mixed person is then, because I'm not the one in, like, I am what I am. So,
yeah.
But
you know what? To me, and I understood their point, which is I read as black. I know I'm Black woman, but that is a huge part of who I am. That's I was raised by my white dad. So
I came from Canada. And when I first started, I decided as an actor that I wouldn't enter in the room as this, because I was a Canadian chick who was a nerd and wasn't raised in the ghetto and didn't have the ghettoese. And so when I started, I just ignored it. And what happened, I got punished by Spike Lee because I didn't blacked. I was an actor. I wasn't a blackter. And he said, he called me out. He said, Rae Dawn Chong doesn't represent the sisterhood. And at first I was really hurt. And I said, fuck you, Spike. But then I thought about it. I thought, oh, he's right. I'm not coming in with the thing that you come in with. I was just trying to just get good jobs and be this human being. Not to say these women weren't human beings, but to put it, to make you focus on my other problems as just a human being, not my race. I didn't enter with the race thing, even though other people saw me as what I am, which is a woman of color and a Black woman. But it was just this strange thing. And I think he was right to put me down for that.
No, wait, no, because you represent a different kind of sisterhood.
Well, hold on just a second. Let me finish. He was right to put me down, but the way he did it cost me work. On the other hand, it woke me up to the cause so that I wouldn't be so ignorant, because I was quite ignorant of history, as everybody is, because we don't get it in school. And so at 33, which is when he came down hard on me, I just decided, let's get educated so I know what he's fucking talking about. And then not only that, so that I could get what I needed to know as far as chops and being a strong Black woman. So I had to actually black up in terms of carrying the burden. It's like this Louis Vuitton luggage, only it's stolen. It's from the hood. And I had to carry that in with me in some of my meetings. And I didn't always get those jobs because there were other women who just had it, you know.
But also look at this panel we're dealing with right here.
It's like the light girls panel.
I mean, I'm darker than a paper bag, but like, honestly, this is all part of it. Like, I do think at some point, you know, besides Lupita, right, we're gonna need to have some diversity and some final girls of all shades. We all can agree on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's 100%. Really important for us to show. I mean, Spike Lee, I think he was right about what he said. I just didn't like the way he did it, and I don't like him as a person. I think he's complicated, and I think he's a very good director, but I think he's an icky man. But
Who doesn't
Um,
want to get Rae well, you're sober now, so we can't get you drunk, but I want all your secrets.
No, but I was just going to say something about it that I think is interesting. I think now, though, I've been getting more offers from studios. They want to see me. They want to see what I've written. They want to, they're just much more open. I'm developing something with a bunch of friends of mine over at this other company, and they're just much more open. Like, I feel like right now it is a giant, huge Stacey Abrams inspired yes. Like, we have the opportunity right now to just change the world. And excuse me, we fucking saved America. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's why I'm moving into scripts as well, because when I was in, we moved up to an all-white town in upstate New York. I tried to start a theater company. We were going to do The Miracle Worker, and they said, you got to be the servant. And I was like, these bitches is blind. Why can't I be a blind girl? They're not even going to know I'm Black. And they were like, no. So I went home and I said to my stepmother, I'm going to have to write my own roles. So cut to exactly really decades on the dot later, and I was like, well, you wrote a book, and there's something really amazing about creating things with my mind, right? And I think that sometimes Black people forget that's for us. We can create things with our mind too, and maybe that's because we don't celebrate a lot of our Black people who really invented things, right? We forget all the people who invented this, that, the other thing, but we are creators, and it's super exciting to me to think, oh, I can do this, and I can create the kind of roles or storytelling I would like to share. And that's part of my culture, obviously, but a lot like Rae, I've always been over here. And I finally have come around to it this age, and hopefully you have too, because I hear your point about Spike, but your experience was still a Black experience.
Yeah, yeah. And being Canadian Black was weird because in Canada, we have racism and we have a lot of white supremacy up there. Black Canadians are so polite. They just don't, they don't call you the N-word to your face. But they may think it, So it's it was a weird kind of culture when we came to America. And I mean, I didn't even know about the lynching or Jim Crow. And then now when I see, like Ahmaud Arbery, and I see George Floyd, and I hear about these people, these white supremacists who are police, leaning on people's necks and killing them because they're brown. And I'm just the stuff we're living in now, there's really no difference. If you think about it, it's slightly better, but not much. And without the Black vote, this Biden wouldn't be, and we would still be under this nightmare. And so, the Black experience is so rich, is so incredibly rich. And it is, by the way, really American.
Well, then in case anyone thinks she's being hyperbolic, my 80-something-year-old stepmother said, no, it's worse now than in the 60s.
Yes.
No, I mean, I talk to my friends about this all the time. I mean, people, throughout all of last year, we were making comparisons with unjust force of police and lynchings. It's not really a big difference.
And
but
the
I
white,
wanted to
the
get
white
back to what you were saying
supremacy.
before, Rachel, in terms of we're using our minds and giving ourselves permission to create. I think that again goes back to representation and the lack thereof, right? Because you don't see a lot of Black showrunners, show creators, directors. And still to this day, like, how many Black actors or actresses can actually greenlight a movie? Let's talk about that. And I think that is the issue. It is that when you don't see something before you, how can you then know that?
To that end, I would say to people your age or younger or whatever, like, think about we're all like, there's a joke in town that like actors have pictures of themselves and celebrities on their wall. Producers have Seagulls. So what I think people might want to consider is, I don't have a producer's brain, right? But thinking more business oriented was if you're on a show, well, then how can you convert that into a deal with the network or your own TV show or producing, create, it's like, I wasn't thinking like that when I was on a sitcom. I was just like, I'm on this sitcom. And
I think
there's a lot of opportunity to take power.
Yeah, and I think you see that more and more now, also just because I think actors are moving into producer roles more, are moving into directing more, and so there is this whole crossover between wearing the hats, which I really appreciate because
me too.
I do all of it, and I think and I am doing all of it because if you're gonna sit around and wait for someone to give you a job, you're gonna be waiting for a very long time.
A
You know,
very
so you
long
gotta
time.
create it for yourself. You just that's
A
the
very
that's the
long
business
time.
we're in. You know.
No, it's really inspiring to hear that there are people, and I see it in the younger generations coming up. I think the one thing I'm like, I wish they, and you sound very compassionate, by the way, but I've noticed some younger gens, actors are like, y'all old, da 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 da. And I'm like, hey, wait a second, you've got to understand that the times were different. So when we talk about stuff that we put up with in the 80s or 70s or 60s or 50s or whatever, that's because you would have been fired had you not. It's not that people were weak. You know, when people say that, I'm like, well, do you think the slaves didn't try to revolt? I mean, people try. So
Absolutely. No, I mean, I have no, we stand on the backs of you guys and everyone that came before us. I mean, we would not be here if it wasn't for the people, you know, blazing that
and we
trail.
stand on the backs of the people who came before us. I think we are all interconnected with all this, you know. And again, I love that people are going, wait, I can write, I can produce, I can do those things, because that will make the gatekeepers less homogenous at a certain point. And someone will go, you know what, I'm going to give this little show a chance. Because what I don't want to see, and this is not a horror movie, but I saw an advert for, it was like, big A-level celebrity is, it's a period piece. Big A-level celebrity rescued. This little white girl has been kidnapped by the Indians and he's returning her to, I don't care. That's my truth on that. We've seen it before. Yeah. We've seen the whites. I'd like to see it from the Native Americans.
Okay, so here's the thing. That's news of the world. It was actually not offensive. I watched it.
You know what? I bet it wasn't, but I'm telling you, as a Gen Xer, it turned me off. I was like, no, I'm just saying my point of view was I bet it was a great movie, but I didn't care because I just didn't.
No, wait. You're right. In fact, the part of the script that works is the fact that they show that white people are absolutely toxic, and that what it's actually takes it and makes it a thing. Like, she's so evolved and incredible, and she's completely native, this child.
Well, then I wish the marketing department for the film had caught up to where we are in 2020, 2021.
That's a whole other thing. See, then there you're talking, because what they should have shown is that it's about genocide and it's about racism.
That's right. We didn't. We saw a kindly white man holding a pretty white girl, and I thought, I'm not against it, but I've seen enough of that.
Yeah, it's been done before, right? So
I just want you to know, because I saw this movie with the same kind of resistance and I got nervous. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, they absolutely screwed up with News of the World. But then again, it's Tom Hanks. Whatever Tom Hanks is in, he's going to dominate.
No, I get that. I just think, again, when marketing understands, like some of you guys were saying, well, you can't get a movie launched over there because it's all this, we've been told that it's not going to sell, and they take the Black person off the poster when they sell it over there. So again, marketing, to me, is a huge part of this equation, whether it's horror or drama or whatever, that we've kind of, ignored. And that's not necessarily for us to have in this conversation, but I'm saying, if you market a piece a certain way, well, that is how it's received.
But I also think, apropos of horror, I think horror specifically is the perfect genre to I mean, introduce diversity sounds ridiculous, but you know what I mean? Because horror fans watch horror for the sake of horror, you know what I mean? That's why you have, like, quote unquote no-name actors who can, like, be in the series that are wildly successful. So that is, to me, the perfect space, the perfect scene or foundation to.
It's one of the reasons I was delighted to be involved with Horror Noir, which is on Shudder.com. Now, Shudder is owned by AMC. AMC shows the Eli Roth White Horror Show on AMC. They have never put Horror Noir on AMC. That's a marketing decision at a certain point. Very well received documentary based on a book by a college professor, all the earmarks of something. Now, somebody made a decision at a certain point, we're not going to show this little black thing on AMC. And that's where I'm like, okay, see, if you had shown it on AMC, more white people would have seen it, right? And maybe their idea of horror, and they would have understood the deep why Black people love horror, because, we can see also, as Blackula says in that movie, like, he turns his friend into a vampire and his friend can't see himself. And he's like, well, who is a man if he cannot see his own reflection? So, you know, we're all just looking for our own reflection. And one thing I will say is I've noticed in horror, and even like I'm going to give Kooky Sci-Fi Network a shout out, because they tend to cast ethnically ambiguous or Black or mixed people sometimes in their very silly things. And I love that. And they said they made a point of that, you know? So for me, it's not about
AMC though, Rachel. Can I say one just to interrupt it for a second? AMC's leadership is white people, very straight, waspy, not even Jews, waspy women, waspy men.
No, I know who I understand who their demographic is, but I'm saying,
no, I'm just
if
saying
you let a Wharton School of Business person make all the decisions, there's no heart, there's no anything about the emotional impact of what film is.
Well, this is the thing though, this is what they say. When there's more than one, it's tokenism. When there's two, it's an idea. When there's three, it's a culture change. Okay.
Well, listen, we're in the middle of a huge culture change, because even people keep pointing out about the sitcom I did, which ended in like 2007. Literally, I endured joke after joke about my frizzy, horrible hair and my curves and my this, and they would just never do that. Today, even 13, 14 years later, a Black sitcom would never make fun of the lead girl's nappy curly hair, uncivilized hair. They just wouldn't, you know? So we really are in a new epoch. We're not in the dawning of the age of Aquarius anymore, Rae. We're in the age of Aquarius.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, this has been a fantastic discussion. I had so many questions typed out on my phone. I used 2 of them because you guys were on such a roll, and it was
If you
great.
want to ask one, I promise I'll shut up.
No, you know what? I wasn't doing my job because I was just sitting here so fascinated by everybody's input. I was just soaking it all in and not doing what I was supposed to do. So,
is anybody watching this?
it looks like, you know, we had been getting comments and a couple of questions throughout, but I was just like, no, they're on a roll. Just let them talk. And so you guys have been great. You guys have been awesome. I loved hearing all of your insights and inputs, and I loved this panel because when Barbara Crampton came to me and said, you know, can you moderate this panel? I was like, what's it about? She said, well, it's Black women celebrating diversity in horror. I was like, but I look the way I do. I'm mixed, but I look the way I do. Maybe I'm not the best person for this. Maybe I shouldn't be here. And then I hear the names and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much heritage, there's so much mixed ethnicity. I'm not gonna be, you know, the interrupting white lady on this show. You know, it's not gonna be that bad. It's a thing. It's me. It's a personal thing.
It's
been a thing since I was a kid.
It's trauma.
Yeah, but you know, like being the person with pale skin, blue eyes, and still having, you know, a Black mother, and being raised with white privilege and Black heritage. That mixture, it makes it a little tough sometimes to know what space, to know whether I'm stepping on toes or entering a space that wasn't meant for me, that could be used, a platform that could go to someone with darker skin, someone who needs the opportunity more, who wouldn't get it more. And so just coming into this panel with you amazing ladies was awesome and empowering and affirming, and I loved it, and I love the discussion, and I thank you all so much for coming in and dedicating your time and energy to this discussion.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, I loved it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you for your time, and thanks to Dread Central and Miss Barbara Crampton for putting all of this together, and thank you to all of you who are tuning in now and watching.
Love, 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 love.